Hi everyone, welcome to the second lesson in sociology, and the topic is a very interesting one. It's called sociology and common sense. And before you jump to any conclusions, let me tell you that sociology and common sense is one of the subtopics in the official UPSC syllabus for the optional of sociology. So you can, of course, you have to look at the syllabus and go topic wise. That's very, very important because, subjects like these या in fact हर ही subject के साथ ऐसा होता है कि हम कई बार बहुत ज़्यादा depth में चले जाते हैं. And while that is a great thing, when you have time at your disposal, time is of the essence during preparing for any exam, and therefore you should always go through the syllabus as well. Now, see, what this lesson will talk about is that sociology is it's like a science. So it's an art as well as a science. और यहाँ ही पे sociology बहुत interesting हो जाती है. It's unlike other subjects. हम अक्सर इनफैक्ट आपको आगे भी ये टॉपिक भी पढ़ना होगा कि सोशोलॉजी जो है वो नेचुरल साइंस से कैसे अलग है, वो सोशल साइंस क्यों है और क्यों एक आर्ट है एट द सेम टाइम. ठीक है, तो इसमें दो क्वेश्चंस बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाएंगे. व्हाई डू यू होल्ड द व्यू दैट यू होल्ड एंड वेदर इट इज रियली सो. देखते हैं व्हाट दिस मीन्स. Now, when you first talk about common sense and sociology, you need to understand there's something called phenomenology. Phenomenology comes out of a German term, and there was a scholar who was very, very popular who developed this pretty much, Edmund Husserl. And you can actually pronounce these names, they are proper nouns, but you need to be a bit careful, and these are mostly German names, so as I go along I will be telling you the pronunciation. And the idea behind phenomenology is zu den Sachen selbst. Okay, zu den Sachen selbst. Now when I write when I'm saying zu, it's actually ZU. That's how you pronounce it in German. So zu den Sachen selbst, which means to the things themselves. इसका मतलब ये होता है that you take a fresh approach to concretely experience phenomena, to the things themselves. So you look at what is happening in front of you or whatever phenomenon is there, and it is an approach that is as free as possible from any sort of presumptions or any kind of conceptual presuppositions, and you describe those things as you see them as faithfully as possible. And Alfred Schutz, the second name that you see here, he was also very, very popular for having spoken about common sense in sociology. And the idea behind all this is that you don't take organized, typified stocks for granted, and you look at knowledge about others and you develop that knowledge. When you don't have a desire to cross-check something, okay, that is usually how you interpret common sense. So when someone says कि अरे ये तो common sense है, ये तो logic की बात है, तो it is assumed that you should know it. Now see, the word that comes here is assumed, and that is what common sense and sociology जिन्होंने भी explore किया, they were against these assumptions. They said whatever conclusion you have to arrive at should be free of any kind of presumptions and assumptions. So you question the natural attitudes. Now in this, two scholars are very, very important. One is Peter Berger or Berger, and the second one is Thomas Luckmann. They wrote this work called The Social Construction of Reality. Okay. Now, constructivism in fact is a theory in itself. If you read about it, it's a popular theory in international relations also. Social construction of reality means that one is what is happening, the fact that that thing is happening itself. And then there is a social construction of it, how we view it, how we come to see that thing that is happening before us. So, and remember, see, when we talk about any topic in sociology and we take up any examples, you have to keep an open mind, right? You cannot be too prejudiced. You cannot be, let's just use the word overtly sensitive or unreasonably sensitive about anything. So for example, if we discuss a topic like untouchability or racism or so on and so forth, you need to understand that this is for the purposes of understanding society. And these are social realities as they happen. They have not completely been eliminated from society. तो इसलिए जब आप सोशोलॉजी की बात करते हैं तो ऑटोमेटिकली इन चीज़ों की भी बात करनी पड़ती है. सो यू नो, बी लाइट ऑन योर टोज व्हेन यू speak about these things, and you will gradually develop some sensitization towards these issues as well. So we were talking about social construction of reality, and basically what happens is that there is some kind of common knowledge that people arbitrarily they draw. Okay, they will develop that knowledge arbitrarily. They will draw implicit rules of how to carry on in daily life, and thereby they think that they have produced a sense of organization and coherence. So let us take, for example, let's take the caste system, right? So people will think that, okay, we have divided it into castes and this is how it's going to happen. This particular caste characteristics ABCD, this particular caste characteristics EFGH, and so on and so forth, and now we have order in society. So this is what would be an example of this. But you will be surprised to know that there were several sociologists who said that no, we need to have a scientific method. Now Durkheim is one such example, and he has obviously, you know, contributed greatly to sociology. He's listed as one of the thinkers that you should have read about, and his works as well. And he spoke about the need for sociology to break free of the common sense perception, which is considered to be actuality. You need to break free from prognosis. Prognosis का मतलब ये होता है that you are already forecasting the likely result of something. So that is prognosis. You think that prognosis in medical terms would be that, okay, this is the diagnosis for this particular thing and this is what has happened, right? But you have to break free of that notion. You have to adopt a scientific method, and then you have to arrive at scientific knowledge of the social world. So an example of this would be when, you know, let's talk about the British in India. And in our lessons, in fact, if you go to the modern Indian history lessons, you will find examples of this, where the British, when they came to India, they also justified ruling India and colonizing other places, saying that we have the white man's burden and we are on a civilizing mission because the people who are living in these colonies are barbaric, or they don't have the values that ought to be there in a civilized society. Okay, so this entire notion of the fact that so-called whites would be civilized and so-called non-whites would be uncivilized. Now, so that is something that is a notion, but it needn't always be true. For Marxists, much of common sense knowledge is ideological. Now, why is it ideological? Because they believe, Marxists say that, you know, this is a whole chimera that has been created by the haves to perpetuate their dominance over the have-nots. So they will say, for example, that you know, workers are quite content with what they have. The wages we are giving them are anyway, you know, they are more than enough for the work that they are doing, and the workers themselves are lazy and they do not want things to improve. So supposing these are the notions that may be advanced by the bourgeois to keep the proletariat under check. Now, for sociology then, this is not the right approach. So what sociology does is, it questions our beliefs, no matter how old, cherished or emotionally connected we may be to them. So for this, I would recommend that you also go through the NCERT of class 11th, and page 7 has some very interesting examples and notions about sociology and common sense. तो आप वहाँ से भी इसको supplement करिएगा, देखिएगा. तो ये जो common sense knowledge, attitude और behavior है, that nest on assumptions, these have to be done away with. And it is an individualistic as well as a community social phenomena that needs to be explored. So you have to ask yourself two questions. Why do I hold this view? And whether it is actually so. Is this really so? Science begins with questioning by an open mind, and when you don't treat beliefs at a time as you know, the total truth, that is sacrosanct and beyond questioning. So you have to adopt systematic and questioning approach in sociology that is derived from the broader traditions of scientific investigation. And the scientific method is again something that we will be studying. But this is what I spoke about. Now let us look at a few examples and it will be clearer to you what is meant here. But remember that sociology is asking you to question beliefs no matter how old or how cherished or emotionally connected you may be to them, because it's the study of society. And when you study human beings, there is no correct answer or there is no one way to do it. Okay. Now these are some examples in front of you and we'll end the lesson with this. This first example has been taken from NCERT itself, and this is basically talking about an explanation of one phenomenon, that of poverty. Now what is the naturalistic explanation that is often advanced? That people are poor because they are afraid of work, they come from problem families, they are unable to budget properly, and they suffer from low intelligence and shiftlessness. But what is the sociological explanation for poverty? Contemporary poverty is caused by the structure of inequality in class society and is experienced by those who suffer from chronic irregularity of work and low wages. And this is one of the scholars who has spoken about this. तो आपने ये देखा इसमें कि naturalistic explanation में we had certain preconceived notions about people who are poor and what kind of background they come from. So it is pretty much a generalization which may or may not be true. In the sociological one, you are actually exploring structures and institutions. You are seeing that yes, there is something wrong with this whole structure and the way the functioning of society is going on, such that it leaves the poor in a vicious circle. That is what you are ultimately arriving at. Now, in order to practice, let us look at two more phenomena. One is illiteracy. Now, what could be a naturalistic explanation for illiteracy? Let's see. So, people might say that, illiteracy is because people, firstly, they are not interested in going to school. That could be one. Second could be, they are poor and they are prioritizing other things, therefore they are illiterate and there is no point trying to educate them. And the third thing could be that there are these traditional attitudes that are prevalent among them, orthodox attitudes, and they don't want to change. But what is the sociological explanation for illiteracy? One would be that there is less social mobility. So very often people who are uneducated and at the lower rung of society, so to speak, are not given the opportunity to study and educate themselves and come up in the hierarchy. Another sociological explanation could be looking at it from, say, a gender perspective. Reasons for girls not continuing education even though they start at the primary level include a lot of things like child marriage, or it could be for so-called safety security reasons of not sending girls to school, etc., etc. So these are the sociological explanations. And what happens then, once you arrive at a sociological explanation, is that you are able to diagnose the problem and then arrive at solutions accordingly. So it's a great policy making tool as well. Just having the naturalistic explanation with you will not do much good, because these are just presumptions that you're drawing. They may or may not be true. So even if you draft a policy around it, it may or may not yield results. And the last one is racism. Okay, so there could be naturalistic explanations for it and then sociological explanations for it. I will quickly give you one naturalistic sociological reason, and then maybe in the comments you can mention what your understanding of this particular phenomenon of racism is. And please keep it civilized, right, if you happen to write something. So naturalistic explanation for racism may be that it is often seen that people belonging to race X are more likely to indulge in mob violence, let's say. Okay, that is the general understanding about race X. Now what is the sociological understanding? The fact that race X has not been accorded opportunities to bring themselves into the normal mainstream fold of society, that they have been oppressed and marginalized, because of which there are cases where they are more often than not found to be indulging in mob violence. That is one explanation. Second could also be in the sociological one that because of this labeling that has been done upon race X, the chances of people from race X being caught for doing something illegal are greater. And this actually happens. I mean, if you look at the National Crime Records Bureau data, you will find that, you know, sometimes there is a huge gap in people belonging to one particular community being arrested, or cases being filed against them as opposed to another, for various reasons, right? So this is where sociology comes in. So I hope this was useful for you. It's a bit difficult to understand, I know that, but then this is how sociology is. Once you do understand, it will open new doors for you. So with that in mind, all the best, keep studying, and see you next time.